Next up is Lewis from Jelly Drops. Should I let you introduce yourself, Lewis?
Yes, yeah, that'd be
I think
great. And
that
yeah,
would be easier.
thanks very much for having
Over
me.
to
It's been
you.
fascinating listening to the previous speakers, and I think
Yes,
the
isn't it? Wasn't
themes
it?
that have been discussed will be sort of shared through my story with Jelly Drops and my grandma as well. I'm just going to try and share my screen if that's okay.
Yep,
Um, can you
that's
everyone
it.
see that?
That looks good.
Super. Well, usually when speaking about Jelly Drops, I start by introducing my late grandma Pat, my chief research partner. Because grandma had dementia for about 7 years, but about 5 years ago, after she'd had dementia at this point for about 5 years, her condition dramatically declined. She was rushed to hospital, and the family were basically told to expect the worst. It was a very sort of quick onset, and we were shocked really. But it wasn't until she was at hospital they realised it wasn't a dementia really that had led her to end up there, but really dehydration. And this was something that after 24 hours in IV fluid, she was back to her normal happy self. And yeah, we were, you couldn't believe the effect it had on her so quickly, and how quickly she recovered once it was sort of well maintained. Unfortunately, looking into the situation more closely, I realized this situation wasn't uncommon. Many in elderly care are low intake dehydrated. Many people admitted to the hospital living with dementia are found to be low intake dehydrated, and the knock-on effects of these are numerous: poor cognitive ability, poor oral hygiene, UTIs, falls, and encouraging or resulting in people going to hospital, often severely worsening their condition. So with that, I wanted to try and understand why people with dementia struggled with drinking. So I started speaking with dementia psychologists, and a lot of the points previous speakers have mentioned as well. So it turned out there was a number of reasons. Many may no longer have felt thirst. They may not have equated drinking with quenching thirst, may not recognize cups or have the dexterity to use them. And these issues would lead to a confusion. It can make it almost impossible for many to hydrate themselves in grandma's care home independently, I found. So understanding this, I wanted to try and help, and I basically went and lived in grandma's care home for about a month. And here I observed many of these behaviors firsthand, such as putting food in the drink or pouring the drink away. And just the fluid nature of drinks means often easily spilt, people falling asleep in their chair. But by far the biggest problem I found was many would refuse help to drink, and carers or family members simply didn't have the time to sit with each resident, often to ensure they were sufficiently hydrated. So with drinking being such an issue, I started to focus on eating habits. And again, like the previous speaker, identified many of the ways that people would more willingly engage with, especially finger foods. So finger foods appeared much more intuitive, and the removal of cutlery helped reduce distraction. There's also more sociable. Grandma would often like to share her food and was much more likely to eat when those around her were eating. But even still, it was difficult to always get that consistent engagement. I found, preferences in food taste and mood throughout the day. That was, however, I found, unless you offered grandma a treat. And generally, this was universal around the care home. I would go around, and most of the residents would ignore me, which is fair enough. But if I had a box of chocolates or some sweets, then everyone would want a handful and treat you like your best friend. So that's what gave me the idea to create a solid form of hydration in the format of a treat. And in part, this is helped by the fact, as previously mentioned, many people develop an even sweeter tooth. So with that insight, I developed the first prototype of jelly drops. This whilst I was at university studying innovation design and engineering masters. And this prototype was 95% water with added electrolytes, sugar-free, vegan, gluten-free, natural flavors, non-artificial colors, ambient stable, so it didn't need to be kept in the fridge, and it was a solid texture, so it didn't pop in the mouth. It was like a jelly, essentially. And with this prototype, I took this back to grandma's care home and offered it to her. This is the first time she'd ever seen it. She immediately recognized it as a treat, was easily able to pick them up and eat them. And in fact, in this 10-minute clip, she ate 7 drops, which for me to get her to drink the equivalent would have taken a lot longer, and I'm sure been a lot less enjoyable for grandma. So it was a really amazing for her to see her engage with them so readily and so independently. from there, whilst at university, I put this video online as I was graduating, and it quickly went all around the world, had over 100 million views. And I was invited on the BBC and Sky and many others, and it really demonstrated the need for products in this space based on the insights that we've just discussed. And from there, we were very fortunate to be supported by the Alzheimer's Society, being the first company in their accelerator program, and also supported by Dementia Care Awards as well. I believe we had such a good response as the product was developed, with many of the insights that have been mentioned today taken into account, really understanding why many people with dementia struggle with drinking, and really putting an importance and focus on this dignified, independent way to support people manage their own hydration and in the future, nutrition. That was back in 2018, and it took a couple of years to launch, and we launched in the summer of 2020. And so far, we've supported over 50,000 people living with dementia with their hydration in the UK, in the US, and more recently in Canada. And it's been amazing to see so many people enjoy the product as much as Grandma did, and also hear many of the carers' stories, how it's helped them look after their loved ones or the people they're caring for. We've also worked with a number of NHS trusts and care homes over the years, and have a very close and engaged community that we have been developing the product with during this period. So the first product was this tray on the left, but multiple rounds of iterations and feedback from customers and the NHS has really supported in developing the product to what it is today. And that is now transitioned to a smaller portion, smaller drop size, little and often, grippier, easier to eat. And many of the points discussed previously around texture were also key areas of development that we've done to make that mouthfeel really familiar, but also have all the key 95% water properties and the rest. Most of our customers are D2C, people buying for their loved ones, but we have a big presence in care homes and the NHS as well. And this is an example of a trial that a care home has done, where using jelly drops little and often throughout the day has resulted on average in a 250 ml boost to people's hydration. And these were people that were otherwise struggling to meet a minimum threshold of about 1500 ml a day. And during that period, it helped them get over that threshold much more often. So in the previous month, they fell short of that threshold 20 times. When jelly drops was providing that extra boost of hydration, they only fell short of it 5 times. We know jelly drops is geared towards delivering hydration, but really it's a delivery system. And this is something that our community has been very keen for us to build on. And recently, we've been very excited to launch our newest update, which is the vitamin booster jelly drop, still 95% water with all the key features as before, but now with vitamin B12, B9, B6 to support with cognition and immune system. But we're also looking to develop a nutritional version that takes all the same great, engaging, fun, social, tasty aspects of jelly drops, but delivers macronutrients as well, so proteins, fats, and the rest. And this is something we'll be looking to launch next year. So yes, thanks very much. I hope that gives a bit of a background on jelly drops and how they were developed. And as we look to develop more nutritional products as well to build on our hydration at the moment, we're very keen to sort of discuss these with people and potentially work together on that as well. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lewis. That's really interesting. I have experienced your jelly drops myself. And yeah, I think they're really useful for people who really don't want to drink very much. Well done. Keep us informed how things are going. So it'd be good if you could keep in touch with the MTF, because we're always excited to hear about how things are progressing.
Definitely.
Thank you very much indeed.